The president of the American Bar Association got put in the hot seat over DEI in law schools. And when Congressman Gill asked her one simple yes or no question after another, she couldn't answer a single one. Watch this.
Ms. Behnke, according to the ABA's website, quote, all of us have implicit biases. Would you agree with that statement?
The ABA believes that diversity, equity, and inclusion improves the practice.
Would you agree with the statement that, quote, all of us have implicit biases from the ABA's website?
The ABA believes that diversity in all of its
Is that a
realms
yes?
is
Can I take
important.
that? It's a yes or no question. Do you believe that all of us have implicit biases, as your website says?
The ABA looks to remove barriers, and we examine.
That's not my question, ma'am. Do you believe that all of us have implicit biases?
I've expressed what the
You do.
ABA is doing.
That
with its
is the
diversity work.
ABA's position, as expressed by their website. Against which groups do you have implicit biases?
The ABA believes that it's important to always explore.
Are you going to filibuster? Because it doesn't make you sound very good. I'm going to ask you again, against which groups do you have implicit biases?
It's important to always examine everyone's point of view and where they may need to
It
consider.
is. What about your point of view?
I am here as the president of the American Bar Association, and so
And I'm asking you what your implicit biases are.
the ABA as an entity.
Have you reflected on your implicit biases?
I think about how I
are
operate
they?
the world constantly.
Would you like to explain to us what they are?
I am here speaking on behalf of the ABA and the
All right,
ABA's.
we're going to move on.
She runs the largest lawyers association in the country, and she can't name one group she might be biased against. That's not an answer, that's a dodge.
Was race a factor in Ketanji Brown Jackson's Supreme Court nomination?
I have no idea how that process works. I'm a real estate lawyer.
President
from Wisconsin.
Biden stated, quote, I've made no decision except one, and that's that person will be the first black woman ever nominated to the United States Supreme Court. So I think it's fair to say that race was and gender were factors in that nomination process. Wouldn't you agree?
You would have to have a conversation.
He explicitly stated that, so I think it's fair to say. I mean, you're a lawyer. I think that's fair to say. Do you think that it's just or righteous that Joe Biden explicitly excluded black men in the nomination process for the Supreme Court vacancy?
The ABA does not support discrimination of any sort.
So you don't think that it was proper for Joe Biden to exclude every group other than black women in deciding who should fill that Supreme Court vacancy? Is that your testimony?
The ABA relishes diversity, equity, and
Right,
inclusion.
but is it
bringing-
acceptable for Joe Biden to exclude black men in the nomination pool for the Supreme Court?
The ABA never supports discrimination.
That's good to hear. And you believe, I think, tell me if that the Supreme Court should roughly resemble the racial diversity of the country?
The ABA does not believe that quotas are appropriate. It is
According to the ABA's mission statement on its website, it states that judges, it increases the quality of our judicial system whenever judges resemble the vast racial diversity of our society. So would you say that it's helpful, it's beneficial if our Supreme Court resembles the racial diversity of America?
The ABA believes that diversity in all of its forms is important. We
So it
want
is a
people to
good
bring all of who they are, whether they be from small practice or
Diversity,
large practice.
can you define diversity here? You want it to, should the Supreme Court resemble America's racial makeup, roughly? It's a yes or no question.
The ABA does not support quotas.
I'm not asking about quotas. I'm asking if it should roughly resemble America's racial makeup.
It should represent all of what people are.
Of
and
what
all
people
their
are, okay. So
experiences.
right now, there's about two of nine of Supreme Court justices are black. That's about 22% of the Supreme Court. According to your testimony, about 13% of America's population is black. If the Supreme Court should roughly resemble America's demographic makeup, as the ABA states is proper, in your opinion, regardless of qualifications, should the Senate refuse to confirm a third black Supreme Court justice?
The ABA supports and encourages diversity in all of its forms.
That wasn't my question. My question was, if a Supreme Court vacancy opens up, should the Senate refuse to confirm a third black Supreme Court nominee? based on his race
I-
or her race.
The ABA does not support quotas, and so.
The ABA does
hypothet-
support
a
some sort of, and hopefully we'll get into that.
By the ABA's own logic, the court should match the country's demographics. Do that math and you get a very different conversation about the next nominee.
The mission statement on the ABA's website states that our legal profession is enhanced when judges resemble the cultural groups that make up American society. How many Supreme Court justices have we had in American history?
I could not tell you over the.
It's about 116. Do you know of those 116, how many of them have been transgender?
I have no idea.
Do you think there might have been one?
I have no idea.
Is it fair to say that there have been no transgender Supreme Court justices in American history?
I honestly have no idea.
You don't know?
I have no idea.
You study the law, don't you?
We do not study the personal attributes of individual justices.
Is there a Supreme Court justice in American history that you think might have been transgender?
I have no idea.
You have no idea? Well, I think most people can assume that there haven't been any transgender Supreme Court justices. I hope that we can agree at least on that basis. Would that be okay to proceed under that assumption? Okay, I appreciate that. So transgenders haven't been represented on the Supreme Court. Do you think that it's important that the next Supreme Court justice be transgender?
The ABA does not subscribe to any particular quotas.
I'm not asking about a quota, I'm asking about representation, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
The ABA supports diversity in all of its forms,
Have
and
transgenders been included on the U.S. Supreme Court?
the ABA supports the full spectrum of
Do you think that it's
diversity,
a
and we
problem
think
that the transgender community has never had representation on the U.S. Supreme Court?
the ABA believes in diversity, equity, and inclusion as
And I'm
something-
asking you about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm asking you about inclusion of the transgender community.
We believe that people ought to bring their entire self to whatever role they're serving.
You're
in the legal-
refusing to answer my question. Do you think that it's important that we have a transgender Supreme Court
I
justice
believe that it's
in order to
important.
include that community?
I believe that it is always important, the ABA believes that it is always important to support and encourage diversity,
So we
equity,
should
and
have a
inclusion.
transgender Supreme Court justice?
Diversity has many forms, and we believe that
Do you think
each
that you're not
person-
answering in a straightforward way? Do you think that's because of your own implicit bias?
I believe that I'm trying to explain that the ABA does not set quotas and does not believe that
Do you have
need
implicit
one-
transphobia?
The ABA believes that diversity in all of its forms is important and helps the profession more globally.
Okay, we're going to move on. Should Americans be judged by the color of their skin or the content of their character?
Discrimination is never appropriate, sir.
So do you agree that Americans should be judged by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin?
Yes, I would agree.
You agree with that? Should a law school consider an applicant's race when making admissions decisions?
The Supreme Court has indicated that
I'm asking you if they should. It's a normative question.
discrimination is never appropriate, and
So is it your testimony that law schools should not consider applicants' race when making admissions decisions?
the Supreme Court has said that you may not take race into account.
So you don't believe that race should have any role, yes or no, in a law school's admissions decisions?
Law-
Is that the position of the ABA?
The ABA is not responsible for admissions.
I didn't say it was. I'm asking you if you believe, and if it's the position of the ABA, that race should not be a factor at all in a law school's admissions decisions.
The ABA takes compliance with the law seriously.
I didn't ask you that. I asked, it's a really simple question. I'm asking you, let me just ask you in your own personal capacity, should race be a factor in law school admissions decisions? The question is a yes or no question.
I am here in my
Yes or no,
capacity-
should race be a factor
I
in
am-
law school admissions
I am
decisions?
here in my
Because
capacity.
according to the ABA, it should. The ABA has said explicitly that they have a long history of supporting consideration of race in law school admissions. Is that your testimony, that law schools should continue taking into account race?
The Supreme Court indicated that diversity is a laudable goal, and the ABA supports diversity in all of its
This is
forms.
embarrassing for you. You ought to be able to answer this in a very straightforward way. And with that, the time is up.
This is exactly the kind of double standard we cover on this channel every week. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.